So today I want to show you this new tool called ZigZag. And this will revolutionize the way you do entrepreneurship workshops and entrepreneurship classes, and it will help you and your students or participants focus on the important stuff and on the fun stuff instead of just filling out models and frameworks. So this will do the work for you. This is a tool developed by the GoZigZag team, led by Scott Ford, who is the former COO of Techstars. So he has a lot of experience in entrepreneurship. You can use the free plan. It's got a couple more plans coming up. For the moment, they are just, this is just in development. So it's a very new tool. As soon as this is going to pull in real-time market information, it's going to save you literally months of work with your entrepreneurs. So let's take a look. When you create an account and you go to your dashboard, this is what you will see, your startup idea. Now, I've already filled this in. This is the example I usually use for my videos. So my startup idea is a cooperative board game for children aged 6 to 9. The game is about a group of dwarfs who build a house together. They have different talents, and sometimes they have a setback, which is a storm. So the house falls apart. So the game is aimed at parents who love to spend time with their kids and play games, who want to instill a cooperative mindset, and who think it's important to value everyone's individuality and talents. So this is going to take 2 minutes, and then ZigZag will actually build your business model. It will point out the most critical hypothesis. It will give you a format for a customer discovery interview. It will give you a whole brand wheel, including name suggestions and everything. So it is very interesting. Of course, this is AI based. And now our job as coaches, as educators, is to help our students and participants to think critically about the business model. So not just to go blindly for whatever the AI generates, but really think critically about the business model and the validation and about the hypothesis, and go out and test and reflect, because AI builds upon what it already knows. Our job as entrepreneurs is to develop creative, innovative business models. So we can identify the main things through AI, but it is our job to really make a difference here and to think critically about it also. So meanwhile, it has come up with a lean canvas. So the business prototype, there is validation, so critical hypothesis, customer interview, and a landing page. And we have a storytelling central, brand wheel, startup naming, elevator pitch. So the lean canvas, customer segments, family time maximizer, holistic education supporter, conscious consumer. So these are archetypes, early adopters, schools and educators, parents who actively look for educational and cooperative play options. The unique value proposition, build, design, and grow together with a board game that celebrates cooperation over competition, tailored for children's development. High-level concept, nurture the spirit of togetherness in children through a fun cooperative board game adventure. Okay, so there's unfair advantage, unique focus on cooperative play, some channels also, revenue streams, direct sales, of course, expansion packs, licensing deals. So it just gives a lot of options here. As you can see, it's quite accurate, at least for this idea it is. Keep in mind that, as with all AI tools, the more information and the more specific information you feed the AI, the better the outcome also will be. So be specific, be precise, explain the AI exactly who your customer is going to be, what the objectives of, in this case, the game are. And that way the AI can do a pretty good job creating this lean canvas also. Some existing alternatives. So this is interesting to investigate. key metrics, solution, the problem, and some cost structure. Okay, let's take a look at the critical hypothesis, which is always a very interesting thing to do. So this categorizes the critical hypothesis in desirability, viability, and feasibility, and also indicates the risk of it. So if this would be an incorrect hypothesis, what would be the criticality of it? So how much of a risk would this represent, and also how to test it? So let's just walk through them. So desirability. Parents of children aged 6 to 9 are interested in cooperative board games that promote teamwork and values like individuality. If this would be proven incorrect, then the criticality for our business model, of course, would be very high. The way to validate it is a validation survey. So it's about numbers, it's about quantity, once we get to the right segment. Another desirability hypothesis. So children aged 6 to 9 enjoy playing board games that involve building, designing, cooking, gardening, and facing challenges. Okay, I would correct this because they're not exactly going to build, design, cook, and garden. They are going to play with the dwarves who have that particular talent, but they're not actually going to be cooking, right? That's the role that they have in this board game. So I would adjust this slightly. Of course, we need to get the children on board. So adjusting this hypothesis to children who like playing board games and enjoy cooperating with each other, that would be the basis of my hypothesis here. So that would be playtesting sessions, of course. Viability. Parents are willing to pay a premium price for a high quality cooperative board game that supports their values and promotes teamwork. A high criticality is high. So this is about the number of parents that would be willing to pay this price. This is about a premium price. So that's also something that you might want to adjust depending on the vision that you have for the board game and for the business model. Feasibility. Manufacturing the board game with components that reflect the theme of the dwarfs. Building a house is feasible within our budget constraints. So this would be an expert interview, a medium critical hypothesis. So this is something that you can still kind of adjust. Of course, you need to get the job done, of the manufacturing done. But we know that there's board games available, there's manufacturers of board games, so that's not going to be too big of a deal when we do the job well. So desirability, the parents prefer cooperative board games over competitive ones when playing with their children aged 6 to 9. Medium critical hypothesis, and the way to test it are consumer interviews. Yeah, of course, this needs to be tested. How much do parents value cooperative board games over competitive board games, and are they aware of the difference and how it works into the awareness of their children, and how do they value that? So that is going to be your job as a coach, as an educator, to help your students, to help your participants think critically about whatever this AI or any other AI will put out, and to see those results and to help them think critically and innovatively about their ideas and how they can make a difference. The AI in the end will sum up what it already knows. Now it is your job as a coach and their job as an entrepreneur to really make a difference within this. So let's continue. So this is the customer interview, and particularly I find this very useful because this is the customer discovery interview questionnaire. So this is the basis for interviewing, and this is what goes wrong in a lot of entrepreneurship classes and a lot of entrepreneurship workshops. The questions tend to be quite superficial, and sometimes as an educator, if you have 30, maybe 50 students in your classroom, you can't sit down with them individually and help them with a lot of support write their interview questions correctly. So you can set the example, but like keeping track of each individual and their customer interview questions. So this is a big help trying to get to the core of things, the information in the customer interviews. So there's a couple of introduction questions. Tell me about yourself and your family, and about how much you play board games. Understanding customer context. Can you describe a memorable experience you had while playing a board game with your kids? How do you think board games contribute to your children's development? What values or skills do you hope your children gain from playing board games? So this is really the customer context, and it also tells us a lot about if this particular parent is part of a customer segment, if this is the client that we're targeting for. Exploring needs and objectives. So what interests you in a cooperative board game for children aged 6 to 9? What are your expectations when playing a board game with your children? How do you think a game like the one described could benefit your family? So first you need to describe the game. I would wait with these questions a little bit, and they're quite simple. You might want to develop them a bit more. Identifying problems and challenges. This I would prioritize over the previous one. So have you encountered any challenges or issues while playing board games with your children? I would include cooperative, not just competitive. How do you think a cooperative game could address any potential problems you face in other games? Can you give me an example of a situation where cooperation among children is crucial during playtime? Alternative solutions. Have you looked for or tried any cooperative board games for children? If so, what was your experience? What other types of activities or games do you currently use to promote teamwork and collaboration amongst your children? Assessing value and adoption. Why do you think instilling cooperative mindsets in children is important? In your opinion, how valuable would a cooperative board game like the one described be for your family? Can you share the scenario where having a cooperative board game would be particularly useful for your children? Understanding willingness to pay. How much would you be willing to invest in a cooperative board game? I would be careful with this question. These tend to be quite inductive questions, so you rather want to ask about past experiences. So how much have you paid for board games, and with what frequency? So how often, how many times a year do you tend to buy board games, and how much do you pay for those? I would rather have that be a factor of influence. And what factors would influence your decision to purchase a board game? I would also include questions about presents, right? Have you ever given a board game as a present to maybe your family's children or something like that? Or have you received board games as a present? Conclusion, is there anything else you would like to share regarding board games for children or cooperative gameplay? Okay, so as you can see, there's many things that you can still add, or many things you could still change, but it provides quite a bit of basis for a customer discovery interview. So of course you would have to revise this, but the basis is already made, and that saves just so much time, and also for your students or participants to take into account what type of questions you would want to ask in a customer discovery interview. So let's go back to our previous page. Now this also gives you a landing page. Build together, overcome challenges. So they have named our game Dwarf Unity, cooperative board game fostering teamwork and creativity for kids 6 to 9. Key benefits. Okay, so a couple of reviews, a couple of features here. So join the Dwarf Unity adventure. So you might also want to change quite a bit of this, but still it's a good basis to start with. So let's go back here. So we also get a brand wheel. So there's a mission, a vision, some brand values, cooperation, individuality, resilience, family bonding, brand personality. So we embody the spirit of togetherness, creativity, learning through play, creating a nurturing and inclusive environment for families. Okay, that sounds good. Empower children to learn the value of cooperation, individuality, and resilience through engaging and collaborative gameplay experiences, fostering meaningful connections between parents and kids. It comes up with some name suggestions. So Dwarf Unity is the one that we've seen used in the landing page. Cope Dwarf, Build Buddies, Creative Forge, Storm Setback. So there's quite some suggestions here. You can change the selected name if you want to. And we get an elevator pitch. Okay. Did you know that parents struggle to find engaging and cooperative activities for their children amidst the dominance of competitive games in the market? This is a significant opportunity in the education toy industry, estimated at millions in revenue in the US alone. Introducing Dwarf Unity, a cooperative board game, unlike any other games. In essence, we are the Lego of cooperative board games. Okay, so there's many things you would probably want to change in this pitch. I tend to find them quite monotonous. I've tried this a couple of times now, and the elevator pitch always comes out quite in the same format with this, using the same words. So you might want to change a lot of this. However, if you're teaching an entrepreneurship class or you're teaching entrepreneurship workshops, this is a great way of showing the elements that go into an elevator pitch. So you start with the problem or the thing that you can improve upon. You point this out as an opportunity, and then you introduce the solution, which is our product. So Dwarf Unity, the name that they use, the name that they picked. And you point out some unique selling points, some differentiation. And there's a piece about the team here, comprises experienced game designers and educators. And then kind of a conclusion about the vision, right? So this is about having achieved key milestones. We invite you to join the call to action to end your pitch. So this is more than like the end product of an elevator pitch. This is a good start to teach your students, to teach your participants about an elevator pitch and the elements that would go into an elevator pitch when they are starting out. So, of course, there's going to be a paid version of this, and that's going to connect with mentors, and that's going to connect with investors. They already have like a couple of collaborations and some discounts and things for people who are already on this page, but that's for later. So this is really just resuming. I find that ZigZag is a great tool for entrepreneurship classes and entrepreneurship workshops because the bulk of the work already gets done. Like the filling out of the form, the filling out of the thing, the bulk of writing down everything is already done. And now you can start thinking critically and creatively about the ideas. And you don't need to worry about the writing out of every little piece of it. So things will be more efficient and you can focus on the innovation part and on the business model and pivoting part with your students or participants. So I hope you found this useful and hope you try out the tool. Let me know how it goes and see you at the next one.